And we are live with Nutrition Al. Good morning, everybody. Hi, Alex.
Good morning. How are you doing?
So I am all right, thank you. So we are live on, we've got multiple streams today with Kate Carney UK page, the SOS group, website, and YouTube. Everywhere. Nutrition Al. Look at us go. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us or watching on replay. It is, I don't even know what the date is today, but we're well into June now with our
Tuesday.
Tuesday the 16th of June. I'll put this on the notes at some point. With a business owner live interview every day. And today we are with the lovely Alex. Now, if you saw the announcement saying, will he have a book on or not? You're going to have to look at Alex's Facebook, go on his business page, look at his Facebook profile to see what I mean by that. But as we can see, the lovely Alex is fully dressed this morning. So hello, Alex. Who are you? Introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, good morning. So Alex, been into health, nutrition, fitness for probably like 10 or so years as an interest. And I'm very curious about these sorts of things. So I have essentially been experimenting on myself for the past 10 years. So, I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in if I hadn't made years and years of mistakes, right? Because no one goes on the first diet that they ever go on and loses the weight that they want and keeps the weight off, right? No one does that.
No.
Everyone makes 10 million mistakes before they actually, successfully lose the weight, if they do at all. So it wouldn't be fair for me to be sat here if I hadn't have had years and years of mistakes. So I've tried pretty much every diet I can think of out there, apart from vegan and vegetarian, because I'm too much of a meat eater. I've tried all the exercise routines. I've tried the magazine stuff. I've tried all the blog articles, all that stuff. So that has led me to where I am today. I worked in the diet industry for 2.5 years, actually in rapid weight loss supplements, protein pills and all that stuff for 2.5 years in marketing, actually. So I was one of the bad guys. Then I left, basically did a 180-degree turn, and now basically going completely against that. I was very, I guess, naive because it was my first sort of job out of university, and I'm now going completely against that and helping people create long-term sustainable change, which is
not easy.
No.
As we know, and I don't know, but there'll be other people watching this, but every time you comment or like any of my posts and I've got the new gin thing going on, you're a bit part of that, I feel this wave of guilt going through me, and I'm sat here thinking, and I want to talk about this is important. I started thinking, what did I eat this morning? And look, there's actually 2 bites of chocolate sat right next to me. I'm not going to touch them. But people will be looking at this and saying Nutrition Al and thinking, and we're joking about you not really top on Facebook and stuff, but people will sit there and think, what, he's going to tell me what to eat. I'm going to feel guilty about eating basically half a crumpet with Nutella on and a strawberry for breakfast with a cup of tea. That I don't feel. I just want to know. Don't tell me what to eat. So tell me about what you do, because we all are surrounded by skinny girls on TikTok, Alex, dancing and making us feel, put the crumpet down, Kate. So tell me what's different about what you do with your clients that's not going to make me feel like a bad human.
Yeah. So firstly, actually, I think I have a little bit of backstory. So whilst I was in diet and wellness industry, I went through the ranks, ended up as a manager with a team, and I learned very, very quickly that if I told someone what to do, they wouldn't do it, or they would essentially not learn that thing. They'd just do it the one time, and then they'd just kind of that if I tried to teach someone something and just told them how to do it, then they wouldn't learn how to do it. So I had to find a way of asking the right questions and lead them through the process, and then they'd learn it and they get it and they do it forever without any questions or queries. So when I started my nutrition business, I figured we're all bombarded with information, what we should be eating, what we shouldn't be eating every single day, and yet we don't do it. So there's absolutely no point in me saying making brownie muffins, love it, So there's absolutely no point in me going, eat this, eat that, do this, do that, right? No one's going to listen. No one's going to change. That's not going to change anyone's life, because on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook and stuff, we're bombarded by these pictures of perfect food that's saying, eat this, eat that. So it's clearly not working for almost the entire, most people. So we need to take a different approach. So how I create change is not focusing on the what. That's a really interesting thing. Everyone wants to know, what should I be eating? When should I be eating? Do I need this food? Is this food healthy? How much of this should I have? Etc. Etc. There's a couple of angles I want to go here. So one is, rather than focusing on the what, as in what we should eat, why don't we focus on how we eat and why we eat?
Okay.
I know this is
learning.
Yeah, so it's a completely different approach, right? So everyone's like, oh, should I be eating this food? Oh, I should have this. Oh, should I eat this? Should I eat that? Rather than saying that, okay, going, right, you're going to eat whatever you're going to eat for dinner. I'm not going to be able to change that right now. So why not focus on changing how you eat that meal? Rather than sitting in front of the telly, completely mindlessly eating, stuff in your face, eating within 10 minutes.
Standing. That's my bad habit.
Standing, oh wow. Sorry, just more for the practicality. I'd spill food everywhere. So it takes at least 20 minutes for our brain to sort of communicate with our GI tract, our stomach, to tell us that we are feeling full. Okay, so if I consume my entire plate of food within 10 minutes, for the next 10 minutes, I'm still like, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. My body's telling me I'm hungry because I haven't had that feedback system yet. That feedback hasn't come to my brain going, we are full, we're satisfied, the stomach is doing great, right? Move on, do something else. So if I sit there mindlessly eating whilst watching my favorite TV program, whilst watching Love Island, that's not my favorite TV program, just to clarify, then what we eat and how much we eat is going to be very, very different. And then our digestion is also going to be messed up because we're stuffing our face with too many things at once. We're going to go back for seconds because we're not satisfied. So rather than changing what we eat, we could eat the same meal, but we could eat it slower, more mindfully. We could sit down at a table with no distractions, and we could put our fork down in between mouthfuls. We're still eating the same food, but the chances are you're going to probably end up eating much less. And if you eat, so again, this is now the why, so that's how we eat, why we eat. So I want to eat until I'm satisfied and I'm sort of good to go. To do with my hunger, should we say? So we eat until 80% full, until we're satisfied. We're not stuffed, that would be, say, 100%. We're not still hungry. But if we eat nice and slowly, nice and mindfully, and we know why we're eating, to just hit that satisfied. Once I hit that satisfied amount, the plate can go, right? I'm done. So I'm still eating the same stuff, but I've eaten it very differently. And therefore, I've controlled my portions, my mindset towards food. Don't dive into mindset too much because it's just an absolute minefield. But and then probably we're going to end up eating less, and our digestion is going to be better because we're actually listening to our body, right? We're getting in line with intuitive feedback systems that in modern age, when we're watching TV and we're stuffing our face, are we really listening to our body's triggers? I think absolutely not. So.
And all of that is so interesting. I'm sure people are watching going, oh God, I eat on the go. And there's so many products that enable you to do that. And that's their angle, isn't it? That's the angle they push. Eat on the go, eat while you're moving, do 25 things at once, be on a Zoom call, talk to the children, walk the dogs. My life. That give you this kind of magic pill, this product that say, eat this and carry on doing everything exactly the same as you were before. Which I can tell, Alex, you're really happy about this. That attempt at a quick fix. And I guess that is what the diet and wellness industry for a long time, and still an absolute majority, quick fix products are what's being pushed. But what you're doing is brain stuff, behavioral things that don't come wrapped up in a little box that you can pop out and pop in your mouth, and all of a sudden you're a size 6.
Yeah, yeah, the other angular thing which I didn't end up talking about. So the how we eat and the why we eat versus what we eat is a key point. That's something that I really like to mention because it's something you can do immediately, right? If you're going to eat this, if you're about to eat breakfast, immediately you can turn off the television, sit at a table with no distractions, and put your spoon down between every bite. Right, that's something you can do immediately, and that will help you. The other side of things is creating habits. Okay, what we eat is a projection of our daily habits and behaviors. Okay, and so if we want to create truly long-term change, rather than focusing on the what, the actual food that we consume day to day, we need to fix the root thing, which is the habits and the behaviors. And as we discussed before we came on, like habits and behaviors don't change overnight. I don't develop a habit in 2 days. I develop a habit over months and months, probably years and years, maybe decades, right? Maybe I've had this habit since I've been a kid. And so changing those, it's not a quick fix. And as you said there, actually really interestingly, you said, whilst doing 25 different things at once, okay? If I try and change more than one habit, even like 5 habits at once, I'm not going to have success. No, I think no one is going to have success. So therefore, it is a long-term thing. We need to focus on one thing at a time, get really clear on exactly what it is that we need to do, start to make small, tiny increments, and then basically win through marginal gains over a many month period.
So what is it because that is, and you said this kind of before we went on live, but that approach is quite different to what is commonly marketed out there. You know, the quick fix, whether that's a product, whether that's a hit workout, you know, this squeeze it in, fit it in. You can still, your life can stay the same. You don't actually need to change. You just need to do this one tiny little bit of exercise or take this magical pill. So your approach is quite different and longer term. You've mentioned a few times, kind of over a period of months. So what does that look like when a client is when you're working with a client? How do you do that? What's the duration like? How does it work, Alex?
Yeah, so it's really interesting, the consultation calls and stuff, and the first few sessions, I just asking tons of questions because there's no point me telling someone what to do if I learn that it's not going to fit in with their lifestyle, basically. So I take what I call a biopsychosocial approach. Okay, so break that down. So our biology. We are all unique and individual in our biology, right? Our DNA is literally unique to us, unless we have an identical sibling or something. So some foods are going to work for you, some foods won't work for you. Some healthy foods will not work for you, and that's fine. You know, we've got to test that, we're going to find that out. But everyone's biology is unique, so what works for you might not necessarily work for someone else. So if I see someone doing insert diet brand, insert diet pill, and go, oh, it works for them, it can work for me, that's not necessarily the case, right? Then the psychological side of things, the primary thing here is our values and priorities. Okay, so somewhat I might talk to a business owner who is, you know, 99% focused on their business, or I might speak to someone who's focused 90% on the family because they've just got new kids or whatever. And so an approach that's like, no, okay, scrap that, push your family aside, let's push nutrition, is not going to work. That's not going to be sustainable.
I kind of wish it would, though. I kind of wish I could just be so focused in one particular area. But I agree with you completely. No, it's not. Telling someone to say, ignore that part of your life and just do this is not going to work for me.
So you have to find a way of, sorry, let's go back a little bit. So I think a lot of trainers, if I'm being honest, and people in similar roles but different to what I do, speaking generally here, so I don't want to end it on, do things very differently with cookie cutter approach. So, oh, you must train X number of times, you must eat this meal plan, you must prepare all your meals, you must meal prep, right? I'm not going to tell someone to meal prep if they would rather spend that half hour of an evening with their family. So by taking an individual biopsychosocial approach, I learn that and I go, okay, their values and their priorities are this. How can we work together to enhance without taking anything away? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it both makes sense, and I have a sigh of relief at that, because the guilt associated with meal prep and, you know, I mean, I just hate the word batch cooking anyway, personally, but that's another story. But the what you should be doing, and I literally want to say to people that say to me, do you want to make a video recording of what happens in my kitchen over a 24-hour period? And batch cooking does not fit into that. Just a couple of comments here, Alex. Rachel said, quick fixes only make short-term impact. They aren't generally sustainable, so the progress is undone. That is then really demoralizing. Oh, yes. I like the holistic approach. Hayley. Hi, Hayley. Great idea. It's so tough sticking to something that doesn't fit in with your life. I feel like we all need to spend some time with Alex. So, yeah, it completely makes sense. And it's really reassuring to hear that you aren't telling me what to do and that you are actually taking the time to say what's happening in your life. Again, it's like therapy, Alex. It's like another form of therapy for me.
Yeah. I find it just so interesting, you know, the coaching calls that I do. I've got one in a couple of hours, and I know I'm going to spend 80% of it asking questions and listening, and then 10% going, okay, what do you think about, here's a suggestion, you know, because we've maybe struggled to come up with some ideas. Here are a few things as a starting point. What do you think about those? The client will then figure out which is best for them, and we can find that. So are you ready, willing, and able to make this change? No, I'm not. So if I told you, let's say, if I told you, Kate, stop drinking gin tomorrow, it's not going to happen.
If we're losing business here, it's not going to work now.
You turn the live off and you never talk to me again, right? You block me on all forms of social media. So that would never be something that I would say. You know, I've had people come to me saying, oh, I drink, some people are really into wine. They drink so much wine. They're like, I need to stop drinking wine. I'm like, if it's something that you really value and you really prioritize, maybe it's the social environments that you experience or link to that, associate, sorry is the word, when you are drinking, you know, it's those social things with your friends and your family, and it's the way of bringing your family together and all this stuff, then let's work on something else. There are other areas, there are bound to be other areas where we can make progress to push you towards your results, your desired goals. I just realized, didn't end up finishing. So the biopsychosocial, the social aspect is like your social environment. So a single guy who lives by himself with a good job and loads and loads of time is going to be the approach for him is going to be very, very different to someone who's, you know, mum who's working, busy job, got 4 kids, and is, you know, in a struggling relationship or something. That the amount of stress there, the amount of change that we can then make is going to be very, very different to someone who's, you know, sleeping well, already got like good habits and behaviors in place, and has the time and money to invest in things. So yeah, that's some part of what makes my job so interesting, is really diving into people's unique individual situations and then finding a way of moving forward from that.
I'm always curious about people's motivation to do something. So what are the around weight loss or fitness, or what do you find what do people talk to you about in terms of their motivation? And does that differ from maybe the real motivation, you know, the role that a dress going out plays, you know, going, you know, Christmas do dress versus how they feel about themselves? You know, what role does someone's motivation play in the whole working with you and kind of?
Yeah, that's a great, very, very good question. So it's one of the things I like to dive into first, like straight off the bat, if not on the consultation call, then like the first sort of client call. So I call it finding your why, and I go through an exercise called the 5 whys, where basically someone will go, oh, I want to lose weight. You go, okay, great. On those really tough days when you're just like no energy, you slept terribly, you're really stressed, your kids are running around screaming, you've got no time, and you go, oh, I just want to take away. And then you go, oh, hold on, what's my motivation? I want to lose weight. No, I'll have a takeaway. Right. But wanting to lose weight is not enough of a motivator. It's not specific enough. It's way too big. Okay. So dive into that using the 5 whys. So I go, okay, you want to lose weight, great, thank you for sharing. Why is it that you want to lose weight? And they go, because I want to fit into some jeans I bought last year. Okay, great. Step number 1. Step number 2, guess what it is? Why do you want to fit into those jeans? Oh, well, and then, it gets very, very personal very, very quickly. And most of the time it is a case of self-esteem, self-worth, appreciation, sort of respect in many ways. But really getting to that specific point where we have something really tangible, a specific feeling or a specific, maybe there's a trigger event that's happened in previously in life that we can really dive down into. And once we have that, then when things get tough, when things get really hard, we need motivation, which I don't ever believe you should need motivation. I can come on to that in a second. Then we go, oh yeah, I want to avoid that pain, or I want to move towards this pleasure. So actually, now we're on that point, it's something really interesting. I came up with this sort of analogy. So humans do things for 1 of 2 reasons: to move away from pain, move towards pleasure, right? One is a push motivator, so pushing you away from pain, and the other is a pull motivator, pulling you towards pleasure. So it's like, I want to feel more confident, want to feel more happy, want to feel more respected. Those are pull motivators. And then the push ones would be like, I don't want to feel slow, sluggish, sad, whatever it is. So if you imagine 2 points, it's really confusing because the camera's reversing it. If you imagine 2 points and you want to roll the ball down the hill, then if your pain is high, that's your starting point. Right, I'm just going to make sure this is on the webcam. And then your pull motive, you want that pain to be really, really high, essentially, to push you away from that pain, to drive you and motivate. Right, so you want this really high pain to move away from. And then our pull motivator, the thought of creating that change, right? If I was going to say, okay, you need to work out 6 times a week, you need to only eat 2 hours a day, and you're going to eat specific foods that I'm going to tell you, the pain of that change is also really high. And and therefore we're not going. So good. And you can push a ball uphill, but what's it going to do? It's going to roll back.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that the pain of creating change is very, very low. Okay, so if I said, okay, you know what, we're going to focus on one tiny change at a time. We're going to work on individual habits for 2 weeks at a time, and we're only going to work on that until we're consistent with it for 5 days in a row. Then we're going to move on to the next thing. It's going to be really simple things like including an additional serving of protein in your evening meal. Okay, for 2 weeks, we're just going to focus on that. And then after that, if that's good and you're consistent, we're going to then focus on including an extra fistful size of vegetables at lunchtime. Okay, can you do that? Okay, yes. Right, the pain of creating that change is very, very low. And then they've got the pain of not changing very, very high. And we create this mega gradient that we can essentially roll down the hill. Does that make sense?
That's a really good analogy. It really does make sense. And actually, I'm sat here thinking both about how achievable and realistic those sorts of changes then become for the individual, and also with my business head on, thinking about, well, that's exactly how I do Whippies with clients. We talk about small incremental things because they often come to me and go, I don't know what to do. I've got so much to do. I've got so much weight to lose. I've got so much to do. I don't know where to start. And actually, it's all about those small steps that are going to have impact, that are easier for them to start with. So it's a really good analogy. You should be very proud of yourself coming up with that one, Alex.
Okay.
So clients work with you over a period of months then. How long do you spend working with clients on average typically?
Yeah, so 6 months is typical. And then, however, it's not a case of at the end of the 6 months, like, see you later, bye-bye, never speak to me again. It's a case of like, towards the end of that 6 months, how are we looking? How are we progressing? Have we got further to go? What support do you need from me after these 6 months are up? And we discussed that. Oh, I think maybe, we can reduce the weekly calls or the bi-weekly calls. I don't need quite so much, but I just need a little bit of ongoing support and accountability. to just make sure that I consistently follow through my new habits for another 3 months or so, right? So it's 6 months, and then whatever is needed on quite a custom basis to allow for long-term sustainable change, right? Because if at the end of 6 months they go back to their previous way, I've absolutely failed, and they should never have joined me in the first place, right? But that doesn't yeah.
So 2 points I want to pick up on there before we finish. The nature of how you work with clients over those 6 months. You mentioned bi-weekly calls. So is that what tends to happen? You agree calls, you have Zoom calls. Obviously, right now we're not sitting around a table together as such, but
no, it's all online. There are several elements to it. So primarily it's one-to-one calls, and then the frequency of those will depend on the initial consultation and the investment, obviously. How much support we think together that is going to be most beneficial. So that's like the key area of, okay, this week I've been working on this habit, but something came up and I really struggled with that. And then we go, okay, let's dive into that. Can we find a solution that works in your biopsychosocial situation, right? Can we find something that doesn't impact your work and fits in with your schedule, and it's nice and easy to do, that you can see yourself doing consistently for months and months and years to come? So that's sort of like really individual problem solving. Then on top of that, I also do group coaching calls where basically I gather questions, I gather topics that people want me to cover, and I dive into those for an hour, take any questions that come up on a weekly basis. They're more sort of, they're less specific, but more sort of skill enhancing sessions. So it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to use that tool to add on to what habit I'm working on currently, but I'm also going to make a note of that to improve my mindset or something like that.
Karen's comment is exactly this. Is that Karen? That is exactly part 2 of my question to Alex. So one was how he works with clients, but the other one was about the role of accountability, because you mentioned it and Karen's mentioned it, and it's something that I absolutely feel. What role do you think accountability plays with your clients? Because when you're gone, or the time the time beyond you, and it makes perfect sense around the forming of habits and the duration you work with clients. But how do you feel about accountability? Yeah,
interesting. Yeah, so very interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna probably say something that maybe surprises some people in a little way, because I do believe it's incredibly powerful, right? If I am accountable, if I'm paying someone, what you pay for, you value it. There's a better way of phrasing that, but if you pay something, you really value it. Yeah. So if someone invests in themselves and invests in their health, then they are almost guaranteed to have some level of success, provided we can map out a roadmap nicely for them. So that's really important, mostly in the early days. Okay, changing that mindset from, I speak to people, I work with people who've been wanting to create change for the past 5 years and they haven't successfully done it. And part of that is a mindset shift of, I'm going all in. And when they invest with me, they are going all in. So they're almost accountable to themselves because of that. So that investment plays a part in the accountability. Now, I touched on this in my previous point that I want to dive into. So I believe the approach to create change should be so simple, and another word for simple, I was going to say effective, but so simple and easy that you shouldn't need consistent motivation. Because one of the biggest things I hear from prospects and prospective clients and stuff is, oh, I would be successful in my weight loss if I just had more motivation, if I had more willpower, if I could just be more consistent. And that to me is, it's not a problem with you. It's not a problem with your motivation, your willpower, your consistency. It's a problem with the approach that you're using. It's because you're consuming 2 shakes a day and then starving yourself for the rest of the day. Obviously, no one can be consistent. No one's motivated to go and do that, right? So rather than thinking of that as a problem of yourself, your own motivation, your own willpower, it's a problem of the approach. So we need to take such a simple and easy approach that willpower, motivation becomes completely irrelevant, right? Because if I just told you all you need to do today and for the next 2 weeks is add an additional serving of vegetables at your dinner, that's so easy.
Yeah.
You don't need motivation. And on that point, then you don't necessarily need accountability. So I'm there if they need it. But one of the things I work on throughout the 6 months is, again, this is really holistic. It's not, I spend maybe 40% of the calls talking about actual nutrition or actual like fitness. And the rest of it is getting habits, behaviors, and the environment to support their long-term change. So I'll be like, okay, can we create more sustainable communities in your life right now? Can you reach out to someone who's going to support you and who will push you onwards in your journey for the time that we stop working together? You know, can you have that in place for years and years to come? Because unless you want to keep paying me, which isn't the point, but
I understand, yeah.
You know, afterwards, if you need accountability, you need to go and set that up now whilst we're working together. So otherwise it will never happen and you'll fall off the wagon at the end. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and it's a really good answer. I could keep chatting about this subject for a couple of hours, which, Alex, I imagine you could too. However, children and clients and husbands needing offices mean we must soon bring it to a close. But Alex, let me type in your website address, or where is the best place for people to find you? Where do you want to send people to find out more?
Yeah, so my free Facebook group, Nutritionals, Fat Loss Without Dieting. Do you want me to send you the link?
Yeah. Or can you put it in the comments? And I will, if you can put it in the comments, I will put it on screen now so people can have a look. Because I think there's going to be, so actually, I know the other thing I was going to ask. So you've got a free group. How do you start working with someone? Do you have a quick chat with them? Do they follow you in your group? Do you expect them to, do you have this consultation call, or what's the first step that people could take?
Yeah, so basically whoever joins the group, I message, reach out to, have a conversation with. The first thing is understanding about you, right? Hopefully you've understood for the past half hour. It's not about me going, do this, here you go, do my plan, right? It's absolutely not about that. It's tell me about yourself, let me learn about you. Let me see if I'm in a good position to help you or not, right? I was talking to someone on LinkedIn last night. He's like, oh, I'm super keen. Would love to find out more. And I was like, he's like, tell me about what you do. I was like, no, tell me what your goal is and what your main challenges are. And he said, and I was like, go and find a meal prep service. This is not for me. Right, just go find another solution. I'm not right for you. So it's a case of having a bit of a chat, understanding, basic challenges, goals, roadblocks, and then would you be interested in having a chat over the phone? Yes, great. Let's dive into it in a little bit more detail, and then let's see if I can help you out. So
brilliant. Yeah, makes sense. So if you can post the link can you see in the comments?
I posted in the private chat. Is that the wrong one? I can't seem to post in the live.
I can take it from the private chat. That's fine.
Okay, perfect.
So that is your Facebook group.
That is my Facebook group.
Sure. Put that on screen there. That one? That's it.
That dieting, yeah.
Was definitely Amy's just definitely commenting on the wrong feed. Thank you so much for that, Alex. I would like to come over and have a look at your Facebook group. I think there's going to be a lot of people who watch this and just, it's really nice to hear about the different ways when we are bombarded with messages around how you should do it and how you should behave. It's really nice to hear that kind of consultative approach to it. So yeah, fair play. Really good, really good. Thank you so much. Thank you everybody for watching and joining in. I will get this broadcast, put it on. I've been watching. Hi Amy. I will get this downloaded onto YouTube and send you the link over as well, Alex.
Perfect.
So thanks everybody. Have a lovely day. Thank you again, Alex. I will speak to you very soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.